I was recently asked to explore with you the subject of creativity and sex and manifestation and how they relate with each other as a tantric approach. And this is such a vast subject that over the years since The Secret came out, my gosh, that was like years ago, 20 odd years ago, there was a big boom when the book The Secret came out. I really feel that we've only been offered snippets of where we need to show up, and the things we need to meet within ourselves and not adjust but remember and come into truth of within ourselves. And so this idea that it's simply about how we think, I felt could potentially have caused and cause a lot of anxiety and monitoring of our own thoughts. And yes, there is a place where we come into responsibility and consciousness of our thoughts, and not so much creating our reality as in what shows up for us in the external world, but certainly our thoughts have an effect on how we feel about experiences in our life, in our daily lives. And so the subject of creativity and being able to manifest our reality, it's so vast, and I personally feel it's something I have grown into and am growing into all the time, learning something new. And it has to be embodied. It has to come from a real felt truth, a real felt knowing. If we don't feel something to be true, it's not true. We can think things and we can speak things, but if we're not feeling that as truth, and then it's not truth to us. We are primarily feeling creatures, as much as we may talk and as much as we may think. It's the feeling behind things that makes something truth. And so I have been pondering on where to begin and how to, if I'm going to share subjects, I want to share them as a whole rather than what happens so much in this field is that people give snippets, and they can actually not cause and not create as much richness and growth as maybe the intention is. So, sex and creativity. First of all, it's really not just having the knowledge, but really experiencing it within ourselves, that our sexual energy is very separate from the act of sex. So there is the act of sex, and within us is a sexual energy that is very much based at our root, in our genitals, that we can feel as a sensation of arousal. But often we feel that sensation of arousal and we straight away associate it with sex. That this sensation of arousal means that I need to actively seek sex or masturbate, or this sensation of arousal means that I need to suppress it because it's something bad or shameful. Whereas actually that sensation may want to create and explore and express, or it may want to rise up and become a very heart-connected sex and heart experience that is then going to expand in something else. So it's very, very important to know our sexual energy in its most pure and refined and innocent and playful expression, which is what we were born with. We were born with this source of creativity and play and aliveness and vitality. And then we very early on, unfortunately, around teenage years or earlier, incidents happened to us, started to associate our sexual creative self with the act. So it's about separating the two again, and really having a felt sense of your sexual energy that then for yourself you can feel into what the energy is asking of you. How does it want to play today? And it isn't always that it wants to actively seek the act of sex or connect with another or be a source of your own self-pleasure. It could be creativity that is being asked of here. So the first sharing out of manifestation and creativity I would want to share, as I share the steps over videos, would be to come to know your sexual energy separate from the act of sex, and really come into that felt experience of your sexual energy. Related around that, it is the health of our sexual energy. If we have limited beliefs about our sexual self, because we're still associating it with the act of sex. So the act of sex can really infringe upon our creative energy and our ability to manifest. Because if our sexual act and our sexual relationships we feel are broken, damaged, not in alignment with who we really are, there's a lack of love, there's shame around it, some limiting beliefs, we are still using our sex as a way to manipulate or receive something as a bargaining. It's to really look at how we are putting sex out into the world or not, where we are withdrawn. So what we believe about the act of sex really infringes upon our sexual energy as an energy to create and manifest with. So there are two very clear ways of our sexual energy being part of, being how we create and how we manifest in the world, and where we may be limiting that for ourselves by A, believing our sexual self is about the act of sex and nothing vaster, the bigger picture, and B, where we may feel that our sex is limited, broken, damaged, not good enough, shameful, those kind of things, because then we are also believing that our creative self is damaged, broken, not good enough, shameful. Whatever we are feeling and thinking and believing about sex, we are thinking and feeling and believing about our potential to create and our potential to manifest. I also really feel here, quite a while ago, I wrote a response to something that Deepak Chopra said, and many people say that we're creating our reality. It's a mirror of who we are inside. And again, like this idea to be that our thoughts create our reality, we have to be responsible for those, of course, and own them. And then that ownership and responsibility is a consciousness of how we think, how we really think, but also to say the world is reflecting who we are inside. I think that's a very, again, that's not the whole picture. That's just words that could be so misinterpreted and therefore cause so much damage, in that whatever, to someone who is experiencing real struggle or pain or abuse, and thinking that they deserve that because it's how they're thinking or because that's who they are. And from personal experiences, those unkind, unloving and abusive experiences are not because who we are inside, but because who we believe we are inside. And yes, so there is this emerging of who we are internally, and how the world meets us and how we meet the world. And often that is showing us an untruth. So it's really to explore what you believe about yourself. And is that really true? Is that belief really true? So I feel I've given quite a lot to reflect upon and feel into for yourself. I mean, that is the biggest thing, is feeling into for yourself. If there is something in your external world that is showing up for you, going within, and it's more, well, not this must be who I am, and so it's like, what do I believe about myself, about my worth and my lovability and my receptivity? What am I believing about myself here that keeps showing up for me externally? And yes, that does mean, what do I believe about myself as a sexual being? And how do I believe I have to show up as a sexual being? You know, sex is we use it as currency. We use it as such an exchange, a give and take. And this all affects the pure source that wants to move through us and move us to create and manifest our reality.